Hi. The Volvo 240 community is a tight-knit group of people who enjoy a particular style of vehicle for one reason or another. Today I wanted to share with you why I like Volvo 240s, why I currently drive one now, and a little bit about my story as to how I got into it. Hope you enjoy.
Oh, hey, good looking.
Growing up, my brother-in-law owned a 240, and I thought that was one of the coolest cars for a number of reasons. One of them being that I thought my brother-in-law was a cool dude. I was very young at the time, and I was certainly not privy to any mechanical or interior issues that car had. It certainly did not have air conditioning, it did not have tinting, but I didn't know that at the time. I liked the back seats. I liked how the windows were manual instead of the automatic switches that all of the cars that I was familiar with had. It had a very cool area on the dashboard where you could store your coins. His speakers were relatively loud. We had fun music that we were listening to back in the early 2000s, late 90s. It was a good time of life and I enjoyed it. And I think that's one of the reasons I started to get excited about Volvo 240s. In the year 2013, or thereabouts, I owned a 1996 Honda Accord, and the transmission ended up going out in that car, which was a burden and it was difficult to deal with. But a good friend of mine who had heard that my car went out called me up and said that he had a car that he was not using. It was older and I'd be welcome to take it if I would like. So of course I said yes, and I drove out to his place, and there in his driveway was a late 80s, maybe 89, white 240 sedan. And I was very excited about that car because in the back of my mind, I think I'd always wanted to own one of them. After I'd seen them driving around town, I just thought they were cool cars and I wanted one. So that was my first Volvo 240, 1989 white sedan. It had a tan interior. It had no real issues that I knew of, except one time I took a corner too hard and I could smell gasoline in the cabin, but that was an adventure. And I enjoyed that car very much for quite a few months, a year, maybe a year and a half. Had a real good time with that car. I eventually sold it to my younger brother because I got my car fixed and I didn't need it anymore. And I had not really taken any time to look at it from a mechanic's perspective, and I certainly didn't take it to any shops. And it was definitely in need of some work by the time I was done with it. My brother took the car and he did a little bit of work on it, I think some brake work. And he put a big sound system in it, which I will always remember because it rattled the windows, it rattled the license plate, and it was loud. It was a lot of fun. So after I sold my white 240 to my little brother, I continued along in my car journey. Eventually, I found myself without a car again. My wife and children had a nice vehicle that they could drive around in, but I also needed a car to get to and from work. And during this time, my younger brother had my old white Volvo, and my brother-in-law had recently picked up a 1987 240 Turbo with the Virgo rims and nice gray paint job, and thought that was very cool. He and my little brother would drive around and they'd park right next to each other. I thought that was super cool. It was about 2014, maybe 2015, when someone who will remain nameless came to my house and wanted to show me a Volvo 240 that they had purchased. It was a blue exterior, blue interior. I believe it was a 1991, and it was beautiful. I thought it looked very good. They took me for a test drive in it, and I got to drive it around and enjoy that with them. And when we came back inside, they asked me if I would like to have it. And I said, yes, very much. I would like to have this car. So they gave me that Volvo 240. And now, a very special time in life, probably 2015, mid 2015 to late, my brother, myself and my brother-in-law would drive around in our Volvo 240s. We would park next to each other, and I've even got a picture of it that you can see. On the left there is my first white Volvo 240. In the middle is the blue 240 that I owned at the time, and on the right you'll see my brother-in-law's gray 240 Turbo. And those are the first two Volvos I ever owned. Enjoyed them very much, and that was a special time of life. And then in maybe 2016, I found myself with a car again, and I was in a good position. And again, I have not taken very good care of my blue Volvo. So it needed some work. There was an oil leak, and I honestly did not quite recognize just what a lovely car that was that I had in my possession. I ended up selling it to a guy down in Los Angeles who was very excited to have it. But I will always remember that vehicle as one that I probably should have hung on to. I really liked it. It was in fairly good condition, low miles if I remember correctly. But I ended up selling it, and the next Volvo I purchased, you'll get to see what that was all about in the next video that I post.